Greetings, fellow geeks and nerds. I am Dan of J Vegas Nerds Creations and Designs, and this is my part 2 to the GalaxyCon Raleigh, North Carolina 2023. I feel like I dropped something. Maybe I did. I don't know. FYI, sort of a preamble, if you will. J Vegas Nerds Creations and Designs is a small business started by me and another fellow disabled veteran. She has another business where she can do like drink containers and t-shirts, hoodies, hats, patches, vinyl decals, vinyl transfers, glass etchings, LED glass designs, and of course obviously I have all the nerdier and geekier knowledge, and I also have 3D printers, and I'm into Mandalorian cosplay, and I'm also looking to venture out and help others with their cosplay ventures. We're also looking to partner up and subcontract with other people who can potentially sew and assist with costume design. But for the most part, this channel was started in direct opposition to my other channel. I have a more socio-politically minded channel on the YouTubes and Rumble that I'm trying to reserve for that level of content. And then I've created this channel for completely nothing more than nerdy, geeky content. So I just posted I'm posting a video right now of our trip to GalaxyCon. Now I would like to talk about some of the experiences we had, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and if nothing else, maybe allow it to serve as kind of like an educational tool for, you know, future con goers, potential con goers, especially of GalaxyCon. I don't want to say that there's any direct correlation or comparison to other conventions. If there is, it's purely coincidental. So let's get into it. All right. First things first, we had security checkpoints that were new. After talking with the people after hours, due to recent events of mass gatherings being targeted, they wanted to increase security to basically make sure that the event itself was as safe as it could be. The extra added security was a bit of a nuisance. There wasn't much of an explanation as far as why. I don't know if that would have helped anybody. Some of the examples that were given as to why for the increased security, what I would say is this. Some of the events that have taken place at mass gatherings have taken place outdoors. So if you're creating a mass of people outside where they could be struck by vehicles or struck by drive-bys or what have you, perhaps getting them into the building in an expeditious manner would have been preferred. I'll leave it at that. Unscheduled guest absences, not being at their tables when not scheduled for an event or a photo op. This happens. It happens. I mean, the celebrities have to eat, poop, pee, drink, what have you. I mean, as grateful as we are for them to be there, sometimes as you're chasing down one celebrity to the next, unfortunately, you might miss them. And don't forget, the photo ops and the panels are obligatory within their contract. So just keep that in mind. Richard Dreyfuss's placement was a cluster. Not sure why. It was a cluster. I don't know if it was his agency, if it was his management, if it was the con, if it was him. I don't know what the factors were, but where they placed Mr. Dreyfuss was not conducive to at least his popularity. They didn't exactly provide for the opportunity to create a line for Mr. Dreyfuss. And all weekend, in my personal opinion, it was quite the cluster. And I got to hand it to the volunteers that did their level best to manage it, because they really did. FYI, I'm not sure that that's the greatest place to put a celebrity that's going to be a big popular draw. The pre-tables create obstacles I don't know if it had anything to do with the SAG-AFTRA strike and how they were trying to handle it, but this year, out of the 6 years that GalaxyCon has been around by some name or another, this year, perhaps because of the SAG-AFTRA strike or other reasons, they had these tables. So if there's about 100 feet of space to line up, somewhere around the 80-foot mark, they would put these tables. And the tables either had photos or whatnot. quite frankly, it depended on the individual and perhaps the volunteers, the man. I don't know who was involved. There were certain celebrities where the volunteers, agents, whatever, were not allowing anybody past their table to get in line for the celebrity for reasons quite unknown. I remember we went to one and we couldn't get past the table because they weren't letting anybody past the table because the guest wasn't there. It was like, none of what you're saying makes any sense. It's like, hey, roger that. You're creating a rule, you're creating a system, you're creating some form of organization that makes sense to somebody. Didn't make sense to me. The tables that they put out front did nothing more than create additional obstacles. It created a line before the line in the traffic zone. So where people are trying to navigate in traffic and get from one place to the next, you were creating a backlog of lines at a table before the guest table. The only tables that actually served a purpose were William Shatner's, where you bought a ticket, you prepaid, and Christopher Lloyd's, where you bought a ticket, you prepaid. Those were the only ones that really kind of served a purpose. Our limited information on Friday was that the tables were supposed to be there as like an opportunity for you to look at the approved photos per the SAG-AFTRA strike. So if you wanted to, you can go and find other photos elsewhere from a vendor. That's not exactly how it panned out. Sometimes the best laid plans don't live up to their dreams in execution. Once again, is it the con, the agents, the guest, or the volunteers responsible for the, I put clusterfucks, pardon my language, you know. Surprised at the popularity of some guests and the lack thereof for others. Basically, be prepared to be surprised. I got to admit, Frank Welker and Peter Cullen were belligerently popular, like surprisingly popular, which I think was a great thing. The Vampire Diaries between Ian Somerhalder, Zach Roaring, Paul Wesley, they were belligerently popular, and I don't know if there was a way to anticipate that. I have another bullet pertaining to that. I'll get there. Seemed like more food vendors inside creating traffic obstacles. Again, good, bad, or indifferent, the con is growing. It's becoming more popular. The vibe seemed a bit different this year, a bit off when we got there on Friday. Something felt a bit different. I don't know if it was like a negative aura of the strike and like, oh man, we got to make all these accommodations. I don't know. But I will say that when it came like the food vendors, they had a tremendous amount of food vendors inside some of the major causeways where we walk, where we traffic, and that created additional obstacles. I'm just putting it out there. So in the event that this repeats itself next year, be prepared for GalaxyCon in Raleigh. They're in like the major causeway before you get to the event center. They had a lot of food vendors that created lines, that created obstacles. So just be prepared for that. But I'm glad that it's growing and that we had more food vendor options available to grab a meal. My word of advice, prepare yourself. In the last couple of years, they haven't exactly been Nazis about the backpacks and bringing your own food. So if you want to bring your own snacks and bring your own drinks, they really haven't been too bad about that. They've been pretty cool about it. People stopping in groups. Gawk walkers, just be prepared for the people. All right, just be prepared. I mean, essentially, a convention is a gathering of people by their very nature who are socially awkward in normal settings. So when you have between 20 to 50,000 socially awkward people already, expect some extreme awkwardness as far as people and their people skills or a lack thereof. Like when a group of people just stops in the middle of a walkway and like a wagon train, they circle the wagons and just kind of like, it's like you just created an obstacle. I have more on that in other bullets. VIP Fast Pass planning versus the guest list finalization. Yeah, I don't know if there's a limited opportunity to purchase a Fast Pass or a VIP Pass, but a lot of times the celebrities announce themselves shortly in advance. And being 47 years old, 2 to 3 months can go by like that. 2 to 3 months is like a blink of an eye. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish 2 to 3 months was like, oh my God, I've got 90 plus days, 60 plus days to prepare. It goes by a lot faster than I remember and care to remember. But if you have up to a year out, sometimes if I have to double check this, but if there's a limited window of opportunity to purchase a VIP pass, and you have to make that decision based on the guest list that is announced like 9 months, 6 months in advance, that guest list may not be, you know, to the point where you're like, oh my God, there's a bajillion people I want to see, I need to get a VIP pass. But when you get to like the 3-month mark or the 2-month mark or whatnot, there could be guest announcements where all of a sudden you go from 2 to 3 people to 15. I had a list of like 30 people I wanted to meet, and I think I got into the double digits. I don't know my final count, but I got to meet quite a few people. All right, what else? Do your best to prepare. Money versus card or cash apps. Not every vendor takes cash. Not every celebrity takes card or cash app. So just be prepared for that. You know, be prepared if it's only going to continue to grow in popularity. Bringing things like luggage or carts, you know, to get, you know, a bajillion things signed, there may not be an awful lot of space to maneuver. Don't expect preferential treatment just because you have said cart or whatnot. If you plan on bringing babies and toddlers, be prepared. It could be a sea of humanity, and it could be very difficult to maneuver those things. If you get preferential treatment by a volunteer that puts you in the VIP line, good for you. Don't expect that to be the norm. Also, be prepared. I've seen in some lines, based on the popularity of the guest, the VIPs are like, hey, either, you know, one of you steps out of the line and has the stroller, or what have you. Sometimes the volunteers, based on whatever's going on, they don't allow strollers in those tightly confined spaces. And again, I think it's usually case by case, depending on the celebrity, popularity, etc. Oh yeah, it is a sea of humanity, and people wait long times in line only not to be ready when they get to the table. Yeah, I think by Sunday, some of the agents or managers or whatever were like yelling out to the crowd, "Be prepared, have your stuff ready. Don't come up here and be like, No, no, no. When you get to the table, have your stuff out, have your payment method ready to go, be ready." I mean, crying out, you're waiting in line for a significant amount of time. You have some time to prepare. What else? And of course, the social decency and a sea of humanity. Again, that just goes back to, if we're already a collection of socially awkward people, try to imagine what 50,000 socially awkward people look like in a confined space. All right. Also, be careful with your cosplays. Raleigh, North Carolina, at the end of July, if it's not raining, which in the last few years it is not, it is hot in the 90s, and then it's humid beyond belief. And then you get inside where even if the air conditioning is set at 60, 50,000 people producing body heat can, you know, supersede the air conditioner's abilities. And just be careful with your cosplays. Also, you know, just be mindful that if you're doing a big, bulky cosplay, you may not have a whole lot of room to maneuver. Just be aware of it, that's all. Especially if you go into the main event center where all the celebrities are at. Hindsight is always 20/20, and the con does their best to adapt and evolve. Don't treat next year like this year. While there may be some consistency from one year to the next, prepare for something different each year. Yeah, this year, obviously, SAG-AFTRA strike, that was different. This year, the security checkpoints with the metal detectors and the bag checks, that was different. This year, I feel like there were so many more people than there had been in the past. Even Sunday was crowd. Saturday's typically always a mess. Saturday is typically always just a sea of people. In the previous years, Friday's always been a little bit slower until maybe after 6, and then after 4, 5, or 6, when people can get off work, Friday tends to blow up. This year, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was literally assholes and elbows. Just so, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. The con's growing, yay. And perhaps if the con's growing, we might get different celebrities. The good, bad, and the indifferent with that is if the con grows and we're able to get different celebrities might be a bigger draw. Bigger draws create bigger lines create longer wait times. I don't know what it's like at any other con where these people show up on a frequent basis, like Dragon Con or some of the other cons. Like, I've never seen Nathan Fillion, I've never seen Alan Tudyk. I know they go to cons, but I've never seen them out here. So I don't know if bigger names will be a bigger draw. Bringing in, because at some point the fire marshal sets a limit on how many tickets can be sold for people. So there's a limit on how many people can come in. I don't know if we were at capacity, but I think we were. So just be prepared. Like, I heard people on the Facebook page and Instagram, like Grant Gustin, Ian Somerhalder, Paul Wesley, Zach Roaring, Peter Cullen, Christopher Lloyd, the likes. A lot of people didn't get seen. There was a limited time for the celebrity to be there. The lines were so big and out of control, not everybody got seen. Conversely, just be prepared for other things too. Like Billy D. Williams, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if it's management. I don't know if it's his agent. I don't know if it's him. Billy D. Williams was probably the highest priced celebrity this year. I don't know how many people paid to see him. I don't know how many people bit the bullet and figured this might be their only chance. But from what I saw, the way I perceive, receive, and process information, it didn't look like Billy D. Williams got as big a draw, because it almost looked like he priced himself out of attention. So it all just goes to, there may be some similarities and consistency from the, like, if it's in the same convention hall, you can expect the layout to be the same, so on and so forth. But like where they place certain people, where events happen, may not be the same as last year. The events may not be the same, so on and so. We might not get the same guests. Last year we had Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum and Erica Durance, and I was floored. They didn't come back this year. William Shatner's been here for the last few years, and Giancarlo came for Thursday. I wish he would have stayed. He's always fun to meet. Be prepared for guests to change their schedule or not be at their tables. Be prepared for price changes. Be prepared for cancellations. Sometimes for the purpose of efficiency, the photo op, the professional photo op, and then only getting an autograph at the table is the most efficient way to get both. My wife and I normally prefer the photo at the table, where they take a photo with our phone or camera. We prefer that. But sometimes, depending on the perceived popularity of the guest, in order to expedite things efficiently, they only do autographs at the table. They only do professional photo ops. It may be an extra added cost, but if it really means that much to you, be prepared for that. Where did I leave off? Some guests will also change their mind on what they will or won't do. We've had that in the past. We've had guests change their mind as far as they won't do selfies. I don't know why they call them selfies. If somebody else is taking a photo for you and you're not pushing the button, isn't that just a photo? I know I'm showing my age. Or some won't do specialized. Some will decide later they won't do specialized quotes. Just be prepared and be flexible, and try not to be a douche. I don't know if some of the people that were bitching and moaning on Facebook or Instagram, because for the most part, it's a consequence-free environment. You can, be at minimal risk of being punched in the face. But I don't know if those same people were bitching and moaning to the celebrities or their agents or whatnot. Try not to be a douche. Otherwise, that person might not want to come back again because of you. Respect the rules, whether they are specific to events like the strike, or specific to the con, or specific to the guest. Don't be that person. I apologize. I've got an 8-foot fluorescent bulb that is on its last leg, and it's difficult to find an 8-foot long fluorescent bulb. Moving on. This year felt like 2019 based on crowd size and the guest list. Yeah, we only went for one day. We went for Saturday in 2019. Regrettably, it was our first time ever. It was our first con ever, and it was essentially a learning experience. I got to meet Summer Glau. Man, was she gorgeous. Whew. We also got to meet Felicia Day. She's hot. Maybe not everybody thinks so, but I do. And we got to meet Anthony Michael Hall. But there was a lot of things we didn't do, a lot of people we didn't meet based on time, etc. With that being said, I would probably recommend going multiple days. If you can. I mean, otherwise, I would plan accordingly. If there's only one, maybe two people you want to meet, then yeah, going for the day. I got more. Hang on. It'll make more sense. So, my general impressions. There were a lot more cosplay guests, and it seems like each year they've been setting aside more and more territory for, I guess, professional cosplayers, especially since COVID. 2021, 22, and now this year, 23. I feel like the professional cosplayer guest roster has been increasing, good, bad, or indifferent. I would say 98% of them are women, attractive women. Some do a little more risque cosplay, some don't. Most of them that I looked around at, because I was only interested in talking to those that might do like 3D printed props or 3D printed costumes. A lot of them are doing like sewn together costumes and whatnot. Nothing against it, nothing, just not where my interests lie. That's all. For whatever reason, some of the celebrity guests were not located appropriately for their respective lines. Richard Dreyfuss stands out the most. Yeah, I think I've kind of elaborated on that ad nauseum. Felt like some of the celebrities were more popular than expected. Not sure if GalaxyCon could do a poll or sell separate tickets, or and when I say sell separate tickets, like maybe sell like a day pass ticket for that celebrity only. Or I think Ian Somerhalder was the only one where they did advanced autograph sales. And I don't know if that helped. I don't know if that helped Ian Somerhalder and his agency and his management team. I don't know if that helped the con. I don't know if that is the solution, but it feels like if you know you're going to max out the 50,000 or whatever it is that can show up, say Friday, Saturday, whatever, it might be nice to know in advance of that 1,200, 2,400, 5,000 are there for this guy or this girl, this actor, this actress, whatever. Just a little food for thought. I did hear that there were a lot of people bitching and moaning and about not being able to get to see certain people. Just is what it is. Not sure if this is the best solution, but like Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, Ian Somerhalder, Paul Wesley, Zach Roaring, and Grant Gustin were insanely popular. So I don't know if in the future, I don't know if there was a better way to plan. And the reason I said the poll was because if you had a rough idea of a rough expectation of who's coming specifically for that person, and then you could potentially go one step further and be like, okay, it seems like we have 5,000 people interested in this person or that person. We're going to pre-sell autographs and pre-sell table selfies or pre-sell combos and provide tickets like those QR code tickets. So like when you show up, you not only get your pass, whether it's the wristband or the lanyard, whatever they're doing, you get your pass, but also at the registration booth with your QR code, you get your ticket for the autograph, the autographed photo, the selfie, the combo, whatever's offered, you could potentially prepay and you get a ticket at registration, and that might help time management. And then with that ticket, if it doesn't come to fruition, if you weren't able to get there, you could take that ticket back to registration and get a refund. Just a little food for thought. Oh, where'd I go? Yeah, the tables placed in front not only took up line space, but often didn't serve a separate purpose or expedite anything versus previous years, with the exception of those celebrities where you were able to pay in advance and get a ticket, like Christopher Lloyd and William Shatner. I think I already spoke pretty well at that. Some of the lines you weren't able to get in line past the pre-tables for. I already spoke about that. Like case in point, like if you already had something to autograph and had to pay at the table anyways, the pre-table was essentially worthless. It just did nothing but create additional obstacles. And like I said, not allowing people to line up after the pre. I don't know what that was all about. And again, I'm sure that was a case-by-case basis. I'm sure between the agents, management, volunteers, everybody was doing their level best, and sometimes a plan on paper looks better up until it has to get executed, and then when you try to execute it, you know, with all the unknown factors you can't foresee in advance, it just falls apart. I learned that from my time in the military. As much as I would love to cosplay, GalaxyCon in Raleigh in late July is not the best place or time to cosplay, especially bulky cosplays, trying to navigate the human sea. I had a hard time feeling any empathy for people who opted to bring the big bulky cosplays, or if you opted to bring your stroller and your baby or toddler into the main event concourse for seeing a celebrity. If it was your first time and it was a lesson learned, I get you. If you've had a chance to see videos like this or other videos where people are like, hey, be prepared. There could be 50,000+ people at the convention center, and the overwhelming majority of them are going to be in the event concourse trying to meet celebrities, going to vendors. If you've ever been anywhere else like that, like a theme park or the zoo or whatever, and you found it belligerently difficult with a stroller, just be forewarned. All right, all the things could be. And then again, for the bulky costume, I don't do it anymore. I don't get into it because I don't like being slammed into by somebody who's already socially awkward and doesn't know how to respond after the fact. I don't like being the person that slams into other people, let alone wearing a bulky ass costume. Now, there are places for the cosplayers to go, and there's other places where it's not as crowded, where there's more maneuverability. When you go into the main event concourse area, and it is literally, pardon my language, assholes and elbows, a proverbial sea of humanity. I don't know that wearing an already hot, heat exhaustion producing costume and then crashing into people and risking your costume being damaged. Just a little food for thought, that's all. Every year there's been miscommunication regarding something pertaining to a guest or the guest agents and volunteers, which is always difficult. It just happens. Seemed like this year more than last we had a lot more younger people stopping in groups in high traffic areas on their phones or whatnot. I found that to be a bit annoying, somewhat unnecessarily annoying. If there's only one area to walk through, like lines for guests, vendor, what have you. So there's like a designated area in the center that we all agree we're going to walk. Don't stop in the middle, circle the wagons, and all right. Try to get off to the side somewhere. Arrange, we all have the electronic leash. Get off to the side, up against a wall or something, or away from the traffic areas where people are trying to maneuver. I just think that's common courtesy. And if you disagree, you're free and you're welcome, free and clear to leave your comment. I'll get to that in a moment. There also seemed like a lot of gawk walkers dragging their feet as they gawked at everything. I get it. There's a lot to see. You want to find out who's here, what's going on. Keep in mind that there are people not just in front of you, but behind you and perhaps at your flanks that know where they're going. They have purpose. They're walking and moving with purpose. And there you are doing the zombie shuffle. All right? I mean, come on. Hang on. For crying out loud, GalaxyCon does a hell of a job. I mean, this is the main concourse. It tells you where everything is, and then it's numbered so you can find out who's there. All right, and they hand these out for free. I still don't understand how people are like, and I don't mean people that have a special condition, physically, mentally, what have you. I mean regular people like, ooh, oh. It's like, dude, you're literally like in a 6-lane highway, 3 lanes of traffic on either side doing highway speeds, and you're on a scooter that can't go faster than 35. And it doesn't matter if you put your head down, you're not going to go, you're just like, ooh. I found that to be annoying and difficult to deal with. I'm sorry. I'm a ginger, so, you know, the fires of hell burn deep inside where my soul should be, I guess. I also saw a lot of posts with questions about this, that, or the other. The vast majority of cons are for nerds who are already socially awkward in normal settings. A gathering of these people should be about as safe as it gets, other than the inability to maintain certain social decency. Yeah, I saw a lot of posts, hey, my kid, or it's our first time, or my kid, or my older son. I'm like, we are all awkward. We are all not necessarily welcome in mainstream places. This is our place. This is our church. This is where we congregate. Everybody should be safe. I mean, last year I think I saw a handful of people wearing stuff trying to make some sort of socio-political statement. Whatever. I'm a huge fan of live and let live. You do you. Just don't force your way on me and try to convert me and expect me to accept everything. You have the right to live in your own fantasy and live in your own perceived version of reality. You don't have the right to demand that I equally participate. This year, I don't think I saw as much of it. I may not have had the opportunity to see as much of it, but this year, I don't think I saw any of that. I think outside there was a street preacher, but he's easy to ignore. Beyond that, I think the whole con itself is safe. We're all there for each other. I know this year and in the last, we've helped others. We've consoled others. People that were having an emotional difficulty. I mean, a hug costs me nothing. I'm sweaty. I apologize if it's a bit damp, but you know, to be there for others. I feel like GalaxyCon's a pretty safe space for all of us. But by all means, if it makes you feel better to ask your questions, ask away. Just expect a lot of the same responses. Yeah, it's all good. It's a safe space. Come as you are. Let your freak flag fly. Be a nerd. Be a geek. Whatever. What else? Where was I? My overall impression was that there were a lot of obstacles of all kinds in high traffic areas that haven't been there in the last 2 years that made things a bit more difficult to maneuver. Other than that, the volunteers did their level best, did a bang-up job. I don't know how they got through it unstressed. I don't know how they got through it with their sanity. Everybody did their level best to make it as best as it could be, with an honorable mention. The people running the photo booth, the professional photo booth, especially the MC on the mic, crushed it. Out of the park. Phenomenal. Yeah, so that's just some food for thought. If you're not familiar with my previous work, which I don't know why you would be, but on this channel, I'm not big. I'm not doing this for monetization. I'm not doing this to make a living. I have a day job. I'm good to go. So I'm not as concerned about the likes, the subscriptions, the notifications. I'm not going to plug that. What I will say is this. If you leave a comment, I promise that I will read, react, and respond. All I'm trying to do is open up a space for us to communicate, for us to gather in some way and have conversations. All right. If you have additional thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent, that you'd like to share about your experience with GalaxyCon, if you're thinking about going to a con or going to GalaxyCon and you have questions, feel free. I will be candid and honest. I will try to maintain a sense of decency when it comes to discretion, but I'll be honest. As far as my honesty goes, I just go back to my original statement. I'm 47. I'm a heterosexual Caucasian. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a husband and a father. I am the sum total of my life experiences. All right, that's how I process information. You know, how I receive information, how I interpret information. So that's the lens I look through. All right. Do I have a problem with LGB? No, not at all. All right. But when you ask questions or you solicit my comments, understand the foundation that I'm coming from, so you understand that in advance. By no means do I have any intention to insult anybody. By no means do I have any intention to hurt anybody's feelings. But we also live in a world where people reserve the right to be offended by just about everything. People live in a bubble where they're constantly looking for reasons to be offended. They're constantly looking for reasons to be the victim of something and to be a martyr and to try to cash it in as some sort of social currency. That's not what my channel's about. My channel's about, hey, let's geek out, let's nerd out. All right, let's talk. I also hope to do more stuff with my 3D printing ventures with Mandalorian cosplay and talking about shows that I've been interested in the past. So there it is. If you want to get involved, leave a comment and I promise I will read, react, and respond. Until then, you're awesome. Keep it nerdy.